I start, I wanted to take a minute to apologize about the lighting. The sun's just come up at 9 in the morning, like it does in the United Kingdom in the winter, and it is quite dark and gray and rainy today, so I've had to cheat a little bit. So if the video quality is not up to snuff, that's probably why. Hello and welcome to PsychMedia. Now, today we're going to be discussing the holidays and their impact on mental health, and how that's not exactly a new phenomenon. Now, to do this, we're going to be using that most famous piece of holiday media, A Christmas Carol, as our example. There are holiday traditions that go back several centuries, but our modern concept of Christmas can be dated to the Victorian era. Now, 160 years might seem like a really long time, but trust me, it is small potatoes when you're talking about culture. It's really only 6 generations or 160 Christmases. Charles Dickens' novel A Christmas Carol has so impacted how English-speaking cultures consider the holidays that a recent film on Dickens was entitled The Man Who Invented Christmas. Only the Nativity story can be said to truly rival this Victorian morality play in our cultural consciousness. Even contemporary works are derivative of it, and here I'm thinking of every holiday film or TV special ever. Good characters, Bob Cratchit or Nephew Fred stand-ins, must save something, sometimes even Christmas itself, all the while convincing the bad character, Ebenezer Scrooge, that Christmas is actually meaningful. It's no surprise that there are over 19 film adaptations, going back as far as 1901, 28 separate TV adaptations, and even 4 operas. Now, that's just the original story, but it could be argued that every Christmas film or special with a good guy, bad guy, meaning of Christmas format is directly related. So how does a story about not being a jerk to your fellow man relate to mental health? Don't worry, I'm not going to get all clickbaity and diagnose mental illnesses in the characters because, well, it serves little purpose and I'm not a clinician. I do, however, want to talk a little bit about holiday depression and stress both then and now. Holiday stress. I don't even have to explain it. You already understand exactly what I'm talking about and are probably considering it in the context of your own personal experiences. It's been described as the stress of normal adult life but cranked up to 11, probably due to trying to balance that life with all those added holiday activities. The modern grind has its origins in the Industrial Revolution when factories and efficiency effectively created the workday. Previous stressors were tied directly to survival, like affording food and drink, shelter, clothes, medicine, etc. Survival and economic stress would remain, but kind of became contextually diluted. The Victorian era that followed was the true beginning of consumer culture, of advertisements, and a lot of the ways that we think about modern life. So it's not really so surprising that it also ushered in the modern Christmas. Let's examine Ebenezer Scrooge. He's a miser, wealthy but unwilling to spend money, even on himself. He dislikes the extravagance of Christmas and the forced socialization with family and friends. To tell the truth, as he says to Nephew Fred, he'd much rather be working. Oh, and also he thinks the poor can go shove off. If we didn't know that Scrooge is a bad person due to a cold upbringing and a worldview that lost him his one great love, spoilers, he could be that friend that just doesn't enjoy the holidays. Scrooge is a cliche whose moral redemption is tied to the holiday just because that's when it happens to happen. Being confronted by past mistakes, the suffering of his fellow man, and his own unavoidable mortality, that's what caused Scrooge's epiphany, not Christmas. It could have happened just as easily on Easter Sunday or the May Bank holiday or St. Andrew's Day. Because Scrooge is so tied to wealth in the material world, we see this as traditionalism and spirituality winning out over consumerism. But believe you me, there have been people complaining about how commercialized Christmas is now since the late 19th century. But where there are expectations, there are letdowns. We see Scrooge in A Christmas Carol and this story repeated ad nauseum throughout our lives. We have our own fond memories of Christmas, and every year we want to recapture the past, to be the hero, be the personification of the Christmas spirit. On top of these expectations, we have our lives, jobs, schoolwork, children, issues, illnesses, and current affairs to manage. Stress exacerbates mental illness, making it hard on those dealing with one. Stress and anxiety are also serious contributing factors to poor mental health. Like those Victorians in the dawn of the commercial age, we're under a lot of pressure for perfection, but that's not the whole story. That pervasive idea that there's something more to Christmas than what we're experiencing, some deeper revelation, that can be toxic. We do everything our culture tells us to, spend all that time, money, and effort, get stressed, go outside of our comfort zone, even neglect self-care, and then it's over. Even if Christmas went fine, we still might be left thinking, well, where's my epiphany where I gained some kind of Christmas enlightenment? People who don't celebrate Christmas, many of whom are not Christian, are left feeling alienated. They become unwilling Scrooges for not being into Christmas and are forced to watch strawman examples of themselves converted to the Christmas spirit in media narrative, as if that's a desirable outcome. Okay, real talk. There are a lot of cultural and individual issues to unpack about holiday stress and mental well being, and this episode barely scratches the surface. So, am I saying that Christmas sucks and is meaningless? Far from it. When psychology talks about meaningfulness, it uses the word salience. No person, place, thing, event, or any other noun is inherently salient because salience is something that the individual brings to the situation. It's all about your experiences and your reactions. So if your Christmas Eve is a pint with the coworkers after a long retail season, a tray of oven-baked party snacks, and Netflix, and you feel good about that, then it is just as salient as another person's huge extended family party. Maybe you feel salient giving to others, so you volunteer at a soup kitchen or a homeless shelter. If you're not into Christmas and that's why the holidays stress you out, you might find salience in your everyday routine or how quiet the town is when everyone's elsewhere. I know in at least one religion, it's all about going out for a full Chinese dinner on Christmas Eve or Christmas night. Don't let holiday stress get you down. If you're feeling bad, find someone to talk to, engage in self-care, and please seek help if things start to get dark. What do you do to keep holiday stress at bay and improve mental well-being? Let me know in the comments. So that's been this episode of PsychMedia. Please like and subscribe if you feel moved to do so. And if you wanted to support me or the show, there's a link to my Patreon in the description box below. Bye now. Thank you to the following patrons, with an especial thank you to Gomer, Nate Watson, and Ed Palnick.